Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me on another episode of the Estrella Podcast. My name is Danielle Miranda, and before I get started in introducing today's wonderful guest, it's official, it's here. The beta group has started for Estrella. If you are interested in learning more about this beta group and what it takes to actually get on the platform, please visit estrella.chat. You'll receive information and possibly have an opportunity to join in the beta group as one of the advisors. Now, for today's guest, I have the absolute pleasure of introducing Alchemical Astrologer Cayelin. Hi, Cayelin. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you.
Good. I am so excited that you're here. I know we've been kind of planning this, and there was a little bit of a gap because you just came from taking an awesome family trip, and I would like to know how that went for you.
It was so amazing. So just a little context from the astrological point of view is that today, as we're recording this, is the Cancer new moon with Jupiter. Jupiter just went into Cancer. In fact, Jupiter went into Cancer just before we left on this trip. And I realized that I was going back to my family of origin. And a little small town, Chirac, Colorado, 19 kids in my graduating class. I went to my class reunion, but they're my family of origin because I went to school with them from 4th grade to 12th grade.
Wow.
And I know, and I was like, and really, I didn't like being at home much as a kid growing up. I'd rather be at school, and I didn't like it when we didn't have school days. I was prefer to be at school, which was odd because most people didn't, most kids don't like to go to school as much. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, I loved being with everybody there so much that it was just very cool. And just the opportunity to go back and connect with these people. And it has been 51 years since I graduated from high school. So.
51 years? Wow.
Yes.
You don't look anywhere near that. You look amazing.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I love that. Yeah, I probably maybe look older in person, maybe, or something. I don't
know. No, you look great. I think it's wonderful. I think with all of my guests, there's like a youthfulness to all of you. And I really do think it has a lot to do with what you all do in the spirituality realm. I think it just adds like a different type of youthfulness to all of you. So I think that's great. You have a glow.
Well, thank you. And I think it's partly genetic too, because my mom looked young for her age, and then my daughter looks young for her age. And so and we tend to, I think, have passed some of that through that. But also, I agree with you 100%. Being happy in what you do and being able to make a difference in the world and to bring wisdom and insights to people is just so joyous.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I have to ask because I'm drawn to them. What are the images behind you? There's a big one and there's a tiny one.
I love that you asked this. Okay, so I'm all about the Venus cycle. There's a 19-month Venus cycle, and she does her morning sky thing, then she's with the sun, then she's in the evening sky. So this is the Venus cycle. Over 8 years, every 19 months, Venus rises on a different point of the pentagram, creates a pentagram in the sky. So this is Venus on the pentagram with the crescent waxing and waning moons, morning sky, evening sky, the difference on either side of her. So this is very Venus. It's also very Celtic because it's got some Celtic energies there too. But this one is also Venus that somebody created for me as a Venus of Willendorf imagery at the center and a weaving. And I got it back in 1995, so 30 years ago.
Wow.
I know. And I just love, this is my whole Venus wall. Everything on this wall is related and dedicated to Venus. So
I love that. So Venus really resonates with you, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah. In fact, we started leading people through the Venus cycle as a ceremony back in 2014. And now a lot of people are doing that, but we were the only ones doing that when we started. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a fun story because I was asked to teach the synodic cycles of Venus, Mars, and Mercury and the moon to someone that was in our school back at that time. And the way the teachings had been done didn't really resonate for me. Mm-hmm. like,
Yes.
I like it to be more experiential and not so much just downloading knowledge and
Right.
information, which can be helpful. I mean, you have to do that too, but I want
Yes.
to make it more experiential. And I just didn't really have a lot of energy for it. And so
Right.
we set it all up. We created the space. We started inviting people. Nobody signed up. And I had to admit to this other person, her name's Tammy. I had to admit to Tammy, I said, I think this is my fault because I just don't really have any energy for this. And it's like, I think about it and I just go, ugh.
Right. I mean, yeah.
But
The law of attraction, right? Like,
right? Law. Yeah, exactly. So then I said, what if we did it in a different way? What if we created an online journey of going through the Venus cycle as a ceremony and then did a live event? So that's what we did. We had 3 weeks before the first class had to happen because Venus had just started a new cycle.
right.
And so we went from 0 to 65 in 3 weeks.
65 students.
65 people signed up.
Wow.
And by the end of that, we had over 100 people. So way different energy.
That's wonderful.
And here we are. That was back in 2014. We're here 11 years later. We are still doing it because people said, this is so good. You have to keep doing this.
Cayelin, that's wonderful. And I feel like your energy was different that second time around.
Yeah.
You were probably more excited to actually
so excited. And we've learned so much. Like, you think you know a lot about something and then you start teaching it.
Yes.
And then you learn even more things, and it's been really amazing. And that led us to creating something called what we call the Venus Signature Series, which is really looking at not just your sign Venus is in, but is she morning star, evening star, in the underworld, in retrograde, where is she in the cycle, adding a sense of understanding how that affects that sign. Also, what sign the sun is in, and what was the main energy of the feminine on the world stage at the time we were born. Mm-hmm. That also adds a whole other layer of understanding. So there's so much that it's just been so exciting and so fun.
So Cayelin, what does, if I may ask, when you're talking about Venus, just so those viewers or listeners that may not understand astrology too in depth can have a better comprehension of what you mean, are you saying Venus the goddess? Or are you talking about Venus the planet? And part B to that is, can you give us some detail as to what Venus represents?
Yes. So I love this question. So good. So Venus is the brightest planet in our night sky. And currently she's in the morning sky and you cannot miss her. She is so bright. She's like a spotlight. If you're up early, if you're up before it starts to get the dawn light starts to come on, you can see some of the stars that are around her. It's just spectacular. So she is constantly shifting. Like she'll be in the morning sky for about 9 months. She'll be in the evening sky for about 9 months. She's with the sun for about 3 months. And then she's retrograde and disappears for like really quick. And in fact, this last Venus cycle that started in March, she went from the evening sky to the morning sky. This doesn't happen. This is the only cycle this is possible for it to happen. And it just like one night you saw her in the evening sky and the next morning you saw her in the morning sky. And that usually it's a few days she's not visible. It's just so spectacular. And to know that happens. And I think this is why the ancient Sumerians and Babylonians, they had a whole thing where they would reenact the Venus cycle every 8 years. When Venus rose as morning star closest to the spring equinox.
Yes.
And that because of that quick shift, I think that was probably happening then too. I can't prove that, but I think it was. And she was also rising in the east with the sun at this equinox. And there were, I think it was the Temple of Solomon that was built to track when Venus was rising, and rising, and the sun would come up right after that. And so the light of Venus was strong enough to light the temple passage, and then the sun would come up and light the temple passage at the equinox.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
May I ask, are more likely to feel the effects of Venus?
Okay, can you say that again? Because you froze up for just a second.
Oh, no problem. What zodiac signs are more likely to feel the effects of Venus?
Okay. So, that I actually didn't even answer that part of it. So Venus, what sign Venus is in, tells us what is the aspect of the feminine, whether we're male or female, that we're here to connect with. So we tend to think of the feminine as certain qualities, like the mother, the partner, the support person, or the certain energies. But Venus in Aries, she's the warrior woman. And don't get in her way, and don't tell her what to do. So I have Venus in Aries, and it's very, very true for me. But I also have Sun in Pisces, so it softens her a lot. And I can stand for other people, and like say, no, don't go mess with that person. I will protect them, but I haven't always done that for myself. So that's been a piece that I've been developing over the years. So Venus in the sign just gives us the sense of what aspect of the feminine. So Aries, as I said, is the warrior woman. Venus in Taurus is about how do we experience the beauty and pleasure of life, and learn how to receive, genuinely receive, not be a taker, not be, like somebody who says, I deserve that and you should give that to me kind of energy. Not that, but that place of gratitude, deep gratitude for all the gifts that come your way, to really savor and enjoy them. That's Venus in Taurus. Venus in Gemini, she's the storyteller. She's also playful and a trickster. and she wants to have fun. Venus in Cancer is more of a nurturing energy, a mother energy. Doesn't mean that if you have Venus in Cancer, you'll be a mother, or if you're a man, you'll be a father. But that it is about how do we nurture, create safe space. How do we create safe space for ourselves? Venus in Leo, it's all about healthy self-love. And shining your light into the world doesn't mean you have to have a big stage, but to be able to radiate that light. And ideally, when it's healthy, Leo want everybody to shine with them. It's like, I don't want to shine all by myself. I want you all to shine with me, so that it's like, helping create the space for that to happen. That's healthy, Leo. Virgo is the high priestess. She's the one who tracks the cycles and knows the new moons and the full moons, and when it's time to do the ceremonies, and to create the like if something's out of pattern in the web of life, to how to go and help to restore that or recreate that in a healthier, better way. Venus in Libra, she's very much about how do we do co-creative, collaborative, cooperative, conscious relationships, so that I'm not more important and you're not more important. We're equally valued, even though we bring different gifts to the relationship.
Right.
And then Scorpio, she is the sorceress. She is the one who is connecting with source. And when she's following her passion and really excited and illuminated about what she's doing, then it just comes together in magical ways. It's so fun. Venus in Sagittarius is, she's on the quest for higher truth, higher, expansion of consciousness. So the spiritual quest. And then Venus in Capricorn is like learning how to be a wise elder, how to be someone who knows how to get things done in the most effective and efficient way possible and get the best results. So it's the least amount of work. And Capricorn's often thought of as one that's like always working hard and that kind of thing. That's not the essence of Capricorn. That is our cultural perspective on Capricorn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when Capricorn's really healthy, it's like what Capricorn likes to do is get the job done and then play. Have time to do creative projects. And, it's not always about the work, whatever that might be. So it's and then how to create community and support for each other in ways that really work for everyone and not just a few. That's healthy Capricorn. And Aquarius is, she is about also expanding consciousness and how do we create, do what we love to do without creating harm to anyone else.
Mm.
How to be in that creative, playful space on the cutting edge or the leading edge of new ideas, new ways of doing things, being the visionary and leading the way into revolution. It's like revolution for evolution, I like to say, for Aquarian energy. That's what she's about. And then Venus in Pisces is, we could say, like the universal mother, nurturer,
Yes.
divine expression of the feminine, who is really most interested in how to first help and heal oneself and then help and heal others.
Mm.
So that's very short.
I love that. That was a quick synopsis of each month. Thank you for sharing that.
It was months and also Venus in those signs. Yes.
Now, Cayelin, do you find your clients, wherever Venus is in their chart, that you find this, or is it based on what month they were born, where Venus is?
Well, okay. So what month they're born will have an effect on what signs Venus is in, because Venus can never be more than 48 degrees from the sun. So it's either, so like I'm a Pisces sun with Venus in Aries, and I could have Venus in Taurus, or I could have Venus in Aquarius, or maybe Capricorn, depending, it's like there could be two signs on either side of where the sun is, where Venus can be. But often it's either going to be in the same sign or the sign before or after. And occasionally it'll be could be even further out.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And I think that the sign the sun is in has an influence on Venus, as I mentioned before, as part of the Venus signature, because we look at the sun as the energy you move through life with. So you're born in the seasonal cycle. That's the energy of the season of the time that you're born. And and I remember I'm also Scorpio rising. So I'm Venus in Aries and Scorpio rising. And I was talking to a woman many years ago who was, I think she was Scorpio sun and Venus rising or something like that. And I was telling her this story about this guy who was being kind of a pain to, he was like a Mr. Know-it-all and that kind of thing. And he was saying, oh, people think they know what they're doing with ceremony, and they're out there shaking their rattles and drumming on their drums, and they don't really know what they're doing. And I said, what does it matter to you if it doesn't, it's like, it's not affecting you. Why do you care? That's what I said. And I said it in a nice way. And she said, why didn't you get in his face and tell him he was an asshole? I was like, because I'm a Pisces sun and that's not my style. And that's when I totally got it. I was like, oh, the sun represents the style or the energy you use to move through life. And I had known that, but I hadn't had such a direct experience of it. Like, yeah, I know I have Aries and I have Scorpio, but my sun is not going to be the one to tell you you're a jerk.
Very interesting.
How
you're discovering more about yourself, right? As you live your day-to-day life, and how the planets affect you and how Venus impacts you and your sun sign. It's just amazing. I love that.
Yes, it's so, and also because, you could have 12 people in the room, say with Venus and Aries, like me, but maybe somebody has a Taurus sun or somebody has an Aquarius sun, or they have an Aries sun, that they're going to have a different experience of what it means to be Venus and Aries than I do as a Pisces sun.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am very interested in knowing, because I've never heard of this term. What is an alchemical astrologer?
Okay. So I love that you asked that. I started out studying shamanic astrology, and I helped found a school called Shamanic Astrology Mystery School and so on. And they decided to change the name of it. And I wound up leaving the school, lots of reasons, around that time. Because the idea was that if you use the word shamanic, it's an indigenous appropriation of a term, even though it had been called that for over 30 years. It's like, okay, whatever. Anyway, but I started thinking about it. And I'm like, so how do I want to refer to myself now? And what I realized is that I had been involved with alchemical teachings my whole life. My parents were Rosicrucians. I was at the Rosicrucian temple in San Jose, California. I think it's in San Jose. When I was 3 and 4 years old. My mom used to get the little lessons for the kids, and we moved away when I was 4, I think 5. We moved away, but she'd do the little lessons with us, light a candle. We do all those little lessons. I've been involved with things that are very much rooted in alchemy
Mm-hmm.
my whole life. And then I started something in 2014 we called Venus alchemy. And I was like, oh, wait, I've been into alchemy. And then I started something a little while later called My Star Alchemy, looking at the stars and how they affect us and how we can have more of a relationship with them. And it's just been so magical and amazing. And the alchemy that has taken place for me personally around all this.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that alchemy is the way to describe the kind of astrology that I do, without it being appropriating to any kind of indigenous thing. It's like, just make it. Yeah. So I decided that I was just going to call it alchemy, being an alchemical astrologer, because really working the alchemy, when we connect with the stars and the planets and what's going on in the sky, the alchemy can be so incredible. And in fact, we just had a live Venus alchemy class a couple of days ago, last week. And then, and this woman said, I've been going out and sitting with Venus and it is changing my life.
Oh,
She said, I am so astounded at how it is changing my life. I was like, that's the alchemy that's possible when we work with these mysteries. And my favorite saying is, we inform the mysteries as much as they inform us. And I add to that, because we are the embodiment of the mysteries. The mysteries
now,
through.
If I may ask, Cayelin, with alchemical astrology, you're not using any special tools that are different from other branches of astrology, are you?
No, it actually, one of the things I love about it is that it's really about how are we working with the seasonal signs. So equinoxes and solstices, 0 Aries is this spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, opposite season in the southern hemisphere. We just had the summer solstice at the time we're recording this, 0 Cancer. So astrologers and astronomers actually agree on these points.
Okay.
The name of them. So and then the seasonal signs. So the next 30 days, the sun is in, say we just had the solstice. The next 30 days, the sun is in the sign of Cancer, the seasonal sign of Cancer. The next 30 days, the sun is in the seasonal sign of Leo. And
this is collectively speaking, right? This is not
collectively speaking. The other thing is there's the backdrop of the stars, the constellations that the sun is moving through, the planets are moving through. And they also carry a name, which happens to be the same name as the seasonal signs. Because they forgot that the seasonal signs move through the constellations 1 degree every 72 years, and over 26,000 years. Every season will be with every constellation. That is really why myth and symbol change over time. That's the essence of evolution. It's like these two things working together. So there's sidereal astrology that focuses on the constellations. So in sidereal astrology, they would say my sun is not in Pisces. They would say it's in Aquarius.
Oh, wow.
And the way I say it is my sun is in Pisces and it's in the constellation of the water bearer, which is also known as Aquarius. So part of this is like, how are we bringing the knowledge of these two, like how do they work together? These two things work together. And how do we understand what the evolution is that's taking place now? So there's that aspect. And then also just looking at it in a more, I don't know if it's the word I want to use is grounded or like practical, maybe kind of way, like taking some of the complication out of astrology, because it can be just so complicated. And I've done things with other astrologers and I'm just like, oh my God, you make this so complicated, like this and that, and the sextile and the quintile and the square and the whatever, like,
right.
And what I like is this is a form of astrology that's really about what can you go and directly experience, which is why it was called shamanic astrology in the first place, because the word shamanic means direct experience. So it's like, how do we develop a relationship? This is something we've forgotten.
Right.
Ancient cultures had their standing stone circles, their pyramids, their petroglyph sites, their chambered cairns, their other ways they were tracking the seasonal cycles, then the planets with the stars and all of that. They had that and we lost that. So this is about getting that back and not just looking at, like having a computer program that tells you where things were at the time.
Which is what's happening a lot more now.
Right.
How, Cayelin, as an alchemical astrologer, how are you preserving the alchemy of the type of astrology that you practice?
How
In
am I?
what ways are you preserving that, the originality of it?
That's a really good question. A lot of it is, there is a book called the Shamanic Astrology Handbook that I wrote based on the teachings of Daniel Jamario, who came up with this system in the first place. And so there is a book about it. And he never wrote anything. He gave talks, and I transcribed them and then put it into a book. And then added a few things and whatever. So there's that. That's a one way. There's just I do YouTube videos, and I'm doing Venus Alchemy, and I'm also doing some other things. I've been with Astrology Hub, and so there's different ways that I have been bringing through mysteries that I feel need to be remembered, because some of it is, people can just get so into the nitty-gritty details, and they forget that, wait a minute, you can go out and have a relationship with the moon. We're having a new moon today. Okay, tomorrow you might see that first tiny crescent, and then the next night you'll see a little higher in the sky, and then a little higher in the sky, and then you see the quarter moon, and then you see the full moon rising as the sun's setting, and you start to develop a relationship with the sky, the planets, the stars, what different times of seasons, what stars are in the sky. And they're always talking to us. We just don't know how to listen.
Right.
Yeah. And when we start to open it up to listening to what they have to say to us, the planets and the stars, it's amazing.
Yes, it is.
I've gotten downloads that have just astounded me and helped me to bring through insights and information that it was true for me. And then encourage people to go and get their own insights and their own information.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love to have the stars behind you.
I'm going to plug in my computer really quick.
Okay.
So it's dying. My battery's dying. So just 1 second.
Okay. And as you're doing that, I'll just say, it looks like there's the really bright star off your shoulder there. That looks like Venus. That's how.
So bright. Look at that.
Yes. and it looks like like there's a path of light that could be the Milky Way. I don't know, but it's very cool what you have behind you.
I love it. Look at how observant you are. I love that. So kind of switching gears a little bit. I've talked to a few other guests on the podcast, and just people, friends, family members. This year has been a pretty interesting year so far, 2025. It's been very eye-opening. I've had a couple of people that are psychics tell me that this is also the year of endings. So there's going to be people that are normally friends that may not be friends. Marriages are going to break up. There's going to be a lot of distance, separation. I'm already starting to see that amongst people that I know, which is very interesting. My question, Cayelin, is, as an alchemical astrologer, how has 2025 affected you and your work? Like, do you find that you get more downloads with the world events that are happening, or do you find that you kind of close yourself off to what's going on so that you can channel in a different way?
That's a really good question. I do stay tuned in somewhat, because I feel like the best thing we can do as humans is keep sending love into these more fractured and frail and terrifying situations that are happening on the planet.
Yes.
So just keep sending love, just keep being love, and then emanating and rippling that out into the world, because that's what will change everything. And to not get caught up. And sometimes I'm like, what in the world is happening?
Right.
If we're tuning in from from a place of love, then, and my life is great, I have to say. And I just read something today. Somebody wrote about how their life is really great, and they said, and because we have people who are experiencing that, and sometimes we need to have course corrections, and things need to end and things need to begin, and all of that. we're, but we to not feel guilty because we can hold a space of love and light that we wouldn't be feeling or being able to do if we were going through traumatic shifts and changes personally.
Yes.
And I do know some people that have gone through them, and I'm very empathic, and I feel for them, and I just surround everybody that I know with love and light, and guidance and protection, and that's something that we can do, no matter
Right.
what practices or what perspectives we have or whatever. We can just keep holding the love, because that's going to change everything.
Yes, it will.
Yes, we are in a time of major endings and beginnings. What's fascinating to me is this Venus cycle. We usually see a Venus rising in the morning sky as being a meta goddess on the world stage, meaning it's the overarching theme of the feminine for the entire 19-month cycle. And back in 2017, Venus rose in the sign of Aries. And that was the theme. And what was interesting about that time was that was more women ran for office in the United States than ever before, and won.
Wow.
Also, right after that cycle started, Wonder Woman came out, which is so Aries, because she's all about, in fact, she goes to war with, or not war with, but she's protecting people from the god Aries, who's creating all this destruction. So it was just so beautifully expressed in the greater reality as well as in people's personal reality. Well, this year, Venus rose, like conjunct the sun rose the next day. For some people, it was visible in Aries, and for some people, it was visible in Pisces. Aries is the beginning of the zodiacal signs, and Pisces is the end of the zodiacal signs. But wait, it does not stop there. Neptune went from Pisces into Aries in March, at the end of March 30th. And then May 24th, Saturn went from Pisces into Aries. They're both going retrograde in the month of July, coming back into Aries, and then coming back into Pisces, then going back into Aries. And they meet for the first time in a really long time in Aries at 0 degrees Aries.
Wow.
It's the alpha point, the beginning point of everything. So we have this ending and beginning dance that's happening. And Venus, so we've been looking at this Venus cycle. We decided she wasn't just Pisces, and she wasn't just Aries. She's Aries Pisces.
Wow, that's very interesting.
And Neptune can only go into Aries every 165 years or so. Saturn can only go into Aries about every 30 years or so. And so the fact that the last time they did this, neither of them crossed the 0 Aries point again. They only went across it once. And so now we have this dance back.
Cayelin, can you repeat that? You said Saturn goes into Aries you cut off.
30 years, every 30.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then, and Neptune's about every 160 something years.
So that explains a lot of what's going on right now in the world. And there are going to be a lot of endings and beginnings happening throughout the year. Very interesting.
Until they meet, and really until, well, for sure until February 20th of 2026, when they meet together at 0 Aries. And then they'll be kind of close together for a while after that. But and then the Venus cycle will complete in October of 2026. So we have this Aries Pisces energy super present on the planet. So it's this alpha, omega, alpha.
Do you find, Cayelin, with the Aries and the Pisces, does that create a lot of chaos, but at the same time, a lot of intuition and insight?
Very well, very good. You're really good. So yeah, Aries and Pisces are both highly intuitive in different ways. Aries is intuitive in a way that it doesn't even know how. It's just like suddenly it has this idea or this sense, do this, and it doesn't know how it knows. It just knows it needs to do that. And then it goes and does that, and it turns out to be the most amazing thing. Pisces is somewhat similar, but it's more felt, like a deep felt sense. So one is more in the realm of fire, or the realm of like, it's beyond logic and reason. Oh, actually, they're both beyond logic and reason. One is more of like, it's not necessarily something you're feeling, you just know. And the other one is like, if you're listening to what you're feeling, it's like, okay, it's like that cultivation of our deeper inner knowing, that we don't know how we know what we know, but we just know we know it.
Right.
And so actually they both represent that. Aries is really about taking action. And the other thing that's cool about it is that some Pisces and Neptune can very much be about illusions and delusions. That we think it's a certain way, and then it feels like it manifests in that certain way until the fire of like say Aries or something comes along and just dissolves those illusions. And so have all this Aries energy helping to dissolve the illusions of the past so that we can move forward without them.
Right.
And the other thing about Neptune is it connects into the field of all possibilities. So if anything is possible, what do you choose? And that can be confusing. And it can be, especially if you don't know. You can maybe take things off the table right away. That's just like, I don't want to do that. But then you look at what's left and go, oh, let's see. So people who have strong Neptune on their charts are often late bloomers. They just don't know what they don't know how to trust, and they think they should know, and so they try to figure it out.
Right.
Sometimes they have to go down paths that maybe are probably good for them to go down, but aren't really their path.
Yes.
And then they get back on track later, and to something that they didn't even know. Like for me, I had no idea I was ever going to be an astrologer.
Really?
Really.
So what led you down this path if you didn't know?
Yeah, interesting. Well, I got a phone call and invited me to a talk. I was invited to a talk, and I live in Tucson, Arizona, so at the Tucson Astrologers Guild. And I knew a little bit about astrology, and I'd had a boyfriend who was an astrologer when I was in college. And he made me memorize all my planets and what signs they were in. I had no idea what it meant, but I could tell you. And then I'd tell people, they'd say, where's your moon, your rising, your sun? I'd tell them, and then they go, ooh, and I go, what does it mean? I don't know. But I went to this talk, and I didn't understand everything that was being said, but I understood enough to know I wanted to know. And at the time, I was 9 months pregnant with my youngest son. I have 4 children. And I was like about to be my oldest son was 7, and my twins were 5, and then I'm having a baby.
Oh.
So I was a busy mom already, and then I was going to add to that. But I felt like I had to know, and I needed to learn it. And so that one of the reasons that the Shamanic Astrology Handbook got written was because I was learning the astrology by transcribing the talks and putting it into a book. And that's how I learned it, because I was a busy mom. I couldn't go travel, and there were no official classes or anything that were being given, just talks in random places, and I couldn't do that.
So you were able to make it happen by writing that book.
Well, and I just thought at the time, I was thinking, I just want to know this. I wasn't thinking, oh, I want to know this to be an astrologer. I wasn't thinking that at all. But I'd practice on people. I'd say, hey, can I look at your chart? Sure. And so I practiced on people, and somebody I practiced on told somebody else, and they called me and said, hey, I hear you do charts. What do you charge?
Oh, and that's when it started.
That's when it started. And I was astounded. I didn't even know what to say. I kind of like hemmed and hawed around a little bit and was like, oh, actually get paid for this? Oh my gosh. So it's kind of like I got called out, it's like phone rings, somebody wants a reading. And then that just kept happening. I never advertised. I never asked.
Wonderful.
To keep, I was a busy mom. I was just like, but if people called, I'd say yes and find a time I could do that for them. Yes. And then it just grew from there.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's actually the best way to do it, is organically like that.
Yeah, truly. I mean, I agree. And when I was getting divorced from my second husband, I did not know I had created a practice that I could actually support myself until I actually had to move into my own apartment and pay my own bills. And I had been supporting the family, which I did not really realize, because we wound up in bankruptcy at the end of that marriage as well. And I always felt it was my fault because I was being told it was my fault. And then I realized, wait a second, this is not my fault. This was, anyway, sometimes we take those kinds of things to happen to go, wait, okay.
Right.
And oh, I've created a business that actually supports me. This is awesome. And my youngest son, all the other kids were grown and gone by then, but.
So Cayelin, you live in Tucson, Arizona.
Yes.
I would imagine that Tucson it's a great place to be if you want to channel that spiritual side of yourself, if you want to connect more with nature, with God, with your angels. Could you talk a little bit more about the beauty that Tucson has to offer when it comes to spirituality?
It is amazing. And just quickly, I'll say, when I was in high school, there was one of my best friends who I'd gone to grade school with and who'd moved away and came back for a year. And she was talking about this place called Tucson. And every time she'd say, I know it's Tucson, Arizona, but I don't really know anything about it. But when she'd say it, I just felt like this energy in my body. And then I married my first husband and we wound up moving to Tucson. I've been here ever since, 47 years now. So a long time. And I've tried to leave because I was miserable and unhappy and thought if I left, I might be happier. And Tucson won't let me go. And now I'm not trying to leave. I love being here. But there are mountains all around, the indigenous peoples that are here, that there's so much magic in the land. There's a woman named Patricia Diane Cota-Robles who created these, around the harmonic convergence back in 1987. She started doing these gatherings every year around the time of the harmonic convergence as as a reminder of that. And her guidance is that there are these temples over the Catalina Mountains. And I've seen some of the beings of the mountains and at times, and it just feels very supportive in that, and the way. And also there's this idea that there's an etheric city that's over Tucson.
Oh, wow.
I know. And I've never seen it, but I can feel it. And I've known people who are like, they come to Tucson for an event we were doing or something, and they'd say, what is it that I'm seeing over Tucson? It looks like a city, like an etheric city. And I'm like,
now, are they seeing this from the plane?
No,
as they're flying into
they're seeing it when they're driving around.
Wow.
Yeah. So Tucson is a magical place. And I mean, there's so many wonderful hiking trails. There's mountains all around. We've got Catalinas and the Rincons and the Santa Ritas and the Tucson Mountains and the Tortolita Mountains. And it's like, so it's just, we're like in a bowl. And in fact, it was created by a volcano.
Oh,
I
did not know that.
Like the Tucson Mountains pushed up. They used to be where the Catalinas are, and they came across and they moved to another place. And then the Catalinas rose up, and there's just this, it's on the side of an old caldera, essentially. And I was like, oh, Pele's here.
Cayelin, as we near the end of this episode, is there any parting wisdom you would like to give to our viewers and listeners that are looking to dive more into alchemical astrology? And part B of that question is, how do they go about really being confident in who they are as an alchemical astrologer and not being afraid of what the public may have to say?
Right. I love this question. And when I started doing this back in the 1990s, I think I did my first paid reading in 1994. And I didn't want to tell people I was an astrologer, much less an alchemical astrologer or any type of, it was just weird.
Yes.
So I'm like, I write articles. I don't know. I was like a mom. So that was what I could say for the most of the time. Then as I got a little, but anyway, now it's like everybody's doing astrology. So it's not such a weird thing, but having the confidence, I think for me, I was absolutely terrified every time I did a reading for the first couple of years. And I spent a lot of time being preparing and getting ready for that and so on. And then I started to relax into it more. And then the other thing I was terrified of doing was speaking in front of people. And that took me a long time, but I never said no when I was asked. And I just kept, and people would just say, everything you're saying is so amazing. I was like, after a while, I was like, okay, maybe they're right. Maybe I should listen to that. Maybe I do know something. It's like getting over our self-doubt and just doing it, I think, is part of it. And then, and developing the confidence to do that. And I was really pushed. I think the universe pushed me to do it, because I would have never done readings for people unless I was asked. Although I did at one point wind up going to, I think it was a fair up in Phoenix, like not the Conscious Life Expo, but something like that. Holistic something fair kind of thing. And I had a booth I shared with somebody, and I just did little 15-minute readings for people. That really got me. Like, and then a lot of those people came back and got full-length readings with me. That was nice. So it's like pushing yourself and putting, if this is something you want to do, and maybe you don't, and at times I was like, do I really want to be doing this? Because I'm terrified all the time.
Yes.
But you get over that eventually. It took me a while, but I got over it. So is that answering your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Cayelin, do you happen to have any websites or social medias that any of the listeners and viewers can actually come to you for services if they're interested and they want to get an alchemical astrology reading from you?
So my website, two URLs will take you to the same website, celestialtimings.com, because one of the things I started doing back in 1996 was writing an astronomy, astrology e-zine. A longer story, won't tell, but anyway, I've been doing it for a long time. So started calling it the Celestial Timings. So celestialtimings.com, cayelincastell.com will take you to the same site. And that's my website. And then venusalchemy.com, all about the Venus cycle and all the things we're doing with Venus. mystaralchemy.com for if you want to learn more about the stars and how the seasonal signs work with the constellations and the magical stars of the ancient alchemists, the Bohemian stars, they call them. We did a whole series on that. And also we did a series on the stellar gateways of our ancient origins and our divine destiny as well. So if any of that speaks to you, and then I would just say the best thing for people to do is just go and develop your own relationship to the sky. And then if it can be helpful to have a reference point. It's like, oh, I'm looking at what? And just something that's very cool that's going to be happening on August 11th of this year is Venus and Jupiter are coming together with the star Sirius. And I've done some videos on that. People can check out my YouTube channel if they want to get more information about that. But Sirius is one of the most magical stars in my personal humble opinion.
That's amazing. Well, Cayelin, thank you so much for being a guest on the
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been delightful.
I really appreciate it. And thank you to all of you viewers and listeners for watching and listening to another episode of the Estrella Podcast. My name is Danielle Miranda, and don't forget, to learn more information, please head over to estrella.chat. Thank you so much, Cayelin. I hope you have a wonderful day.
I hope you do too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.